Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag from the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine on ESPN Radio 1230. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
Well, John, the guest train keeps on rolling, and this week it rolls with Craig Cassady, the athletic director at Glasgow High School. And, you know, football season starts Friday in terms of the first games, but sports have been going on for 3 weeks now almost.
Volleyball starts today.
Yep, and soccer started last week. So for an athletic director, it's the greatest time of the year, maybe. Is that right, Craig?
I guess so. It's the busiest time of the year, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm sure it is because, I mean, one of the things that you've got to do as athletic director is make sure all these players and all these teams are actually who they say they are or academically eligible. If they've had any transfers, trying to work that out, you know, if they've moved into your district, and trying to make sure your coaches are on their P's and Q's with their players and that kind of thing. And I'm sure that is a lot of fun. It is.
It's a difficult job to make sure everything's in line at the start of the season, making sure your rosters are updated and your schedules are straight. We had Meet the Scotties last Friday night, and I didn't mention this at Meet the Scotties, but I should have. I try to get on the ball with these pocket schedules in June, and I try to get it to the people that Gerald Printing that does my pocket schedules. But anyway, I've already had about 4 or 5 changes to that schedule, and sometimes it's kind of frustrating when you're on the top of things and you think things are going right, and you have these changes, and it bothers you to the extent that people a lot of times will say, well, I showed up to that game, and I'm like, well, I couldn't get that back on the schedule in time, you know.
Well, but you guys do a plug for the KHSAA.org here. You guys do try to update that stuff.
Exactly. And a lot of times, if you're in question about a game, go to KHS.org because they are updated on that scoreboard.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. You guys have the Scotty Bowl on Friday. Things are a little different this year because you have 2 new teams, well, 3 new teams actually playing in it, right?
Right.
Because Allen County's in it, and they're playing against Elizabethtown in the first game, and then you guys are playing LaRue County in the second game. What other changes are there to the Scotty Bowl this year?
Well, I guess we'll start with the sponsors. We picked up 2 new sponsors this year. Borders Monument and Elmore Auction and Realty came on board with our other sponsors this year, along with Tony Walker Financial, A.F. Crow and Son Funeral Home, Gilly Hyde Auto Group, and also T.J. Sampson Community Hospital, Regional Health. They're also sponsors. The only 2 changes were those 2 sponsors, Borders Monument and Elmore Auction and Realty. We are in the 5th year of the annual Scotty Bowl. Like you said, the teams have changed, and we got another 2-year contract with the teams. Like you said, at 5 o'clock, Allen County will play Elizabethtown, and then 8 o'clock we'll play LaRue County.
Yeah. So how did you end up with the new teams versus what you had in the Scotty Bowl?
Well, basically the process of Coach Garman just checking around to see who might like to do that. Kerry Harwood, who is a good friend of mine over at Allen County, I kind of wanted to get them in there because Coach Butler can tell you they have a good showing of fan base, regardless of the sport, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, whatever. They always have a good following of a fan base, and that was an interest to us to get a good crowd there, and we knew that Allen County would do that. And Kerry's like, you know what, we'd like to make a little money for our sports program. We'll drive 25 minutes to come play in a bowl game rather than try to drive somewhere else and not make any money at all.
John?
That's 4 good schools. LaRue County has a good following too.
LaRue County does.
And E-Town is traditional rich, got a great head coach there. I mean, that's 4 quality teams, and it should be 2 good games.
Yeah.
I think so. We were talking about that just the other day. Actually, Coach Garman called me over the weekend. He asked me what I thought about it. And matter of fact, today he mentioned more about the crowd he thought that we would have. And I said, well, depending on the weather, I think there's maybe a 40% chance of rain. Hopefully that'll stay away. And, of course, today, not only is it hot outside, or in the brown bag, it's also hot outside, too. So we're hoping that the heat won't be an issue. We do play this game on Friday simply for the fact that if we do have to make some changes, we can always play that game on Saturday if it's not too bad on Saturday. Coach Butler and James, you'll probably remember I think the second to last year we had the TJ Bowl when Barren County and Glasgow were both in it. We were under a heat delay for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then in the second half, it came a downpour, thunderstorms, and we were delayed. So we had to come back and end up playing that game, I think, on a Sunday, didn't we, Coach?
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
And you had one year where they managed to get through all the games at the TJ Bowl, but they didn't get done until like 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m., yeah, that's crazy.
It's always a challenge this time of year with heat and potential. When it does rain, it generally rains hard this time of year. So it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But when the weather's good, though, it's a fun doubleheader.
It is.
Yeah. Another thing that's interesting, the football program moves up to Class 3A this year, and 3 of the teams playing, you guys are playing LaRue, which is a 3A school.
Right.
E-Town's a 3A school. They're in the same district, as a matter of fact. So, that makes it a pretty interesting kind of chance for the teams that are there to scout each other, I think.
Right. Of course, we're not in the same district as LaRue and E-Town, but, yes, we are moving up to 3A in football. And you know what? Taylor County, they're going to be in that district, and they're coming off, I think, a semi-state. I think they got beaten the semi-state, and that's a good year for Taylor County. Mm-hmm. We got Adair County, Hart County, and Casey County also in that district. So Casey County's had some success, the last five years or so. And of course, Hart County used to be on our schedule. So, I don't know if things get any easier.
Right.
But anyways, it's going to be interesting to see how things work out with us moving up to 3A.
Were there any specific things for you as the athletic director you had to deal with you guys changing classification or anything like that?
Not really. I knew it was coming. I don't know if this is a fortunate thing or not, but I am on the Catchess AA State Advisory Board for football, and I knew that it was coming. Mm-hmm. But no, there's not all changes, just your contracts and such. But that's going to happen anyway.
So you're on that advisory board, which also discussed with the KHSA about the playoff format that has been introduced this year. I understand Garmin said you guys thought that wasn't a bad idea to change the advisory board. Didn't think it was a bad idea to change the football format. They just didn't playoff format. They just didn't think they were going to do it this season.
Right. I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, I'm on that board.
The key is advisory, right?
Advisory. Advisory.
No real actual legislative power whatsoever.
Coach Butler's right. It's an advisory board. From what I understand, and I think it's written it's written out. We would end up playing 1 and 2. I think would end up playing that first round of the playoffs, and then it goes into like a seeding process as to who you play next, like a power rating type thing.
RPI, right?
RPI, yeah. So
I think it's interesting. I don't have any problems with the you're basically playing your first 2 rounds of your playoffs. You're playing your district for like a district title. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, and that cuts down on some massive travel problems that a lot of teams have across the state. Like Monroe went last year where they go to Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Barren has traveled 3 hours every year for a first round playoff game.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think the inter-district thing was the part that caught people off guard. It was applying the RPI to getting to the regional final, because the schedules are set 2 years prior to you playing this season, right?
Right.
So you really didn't have a chance. You guys kind of lucked out because you ended up with a pretty tough schedule, which will help your RPI one way or the other. But some schools probably didn't get a chance to set their schedule the way they wanted to, so their RPI might, if they get to that region, it may not be what they wanted it to be.
Yes, there's a lot of truth to that.
So. Meanwhile, your other sports have started. Your volleyball plays tonight. Where are you guys tonight?
We're at Hart County this afternoon at 5:30.
Got a new coach?
We've got a new coach. I'm sure Coach Butler's pretty familiar with.
I know her quite well. She's a neighbor too.
As a neighbor.
Yes. But yeah, she taught at Barren, and she's a really, really good person, and played volleyball, I believe, at Mercy and then Campbellsville.
Mercy in Louisville and Campbellsville, and just been a pleasure to work with. It's one thing to get a good coach, but it's also good to get a good conscientious coach that's going to do the right thing all the time.
Caitlin Rigdon is her name.
Yeah.
Caitlin Rigdon, yes, I'm sorry. And she is, from what I can tell, is a first class.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Wilson's her assistant. Elizabeth's been her head coach the previous 2 years, and I'm so happy that she stayed on board, too, to help her out, kind of show her, around Glasgow High School and some of the things that we do there. Golf has been going on now for several weeks. And
got a real good girls team.
We have a very solid girls team, and we've called them young for 2 or 3 years now because they have been young, and they're still young. I think loaded. I want to say sophomore and juniors. We've already had several qualifying state points, I think, and they've done quite well. We've got a very young boys team as well. Wade Copus is doing a good job, and Craig Pippin.
I've heard of that name before.
Yeah, Coach Butler, I'm sure, has coached against him a few times. He's joined us from Russell County. They've moved over to our community, and he's got a teaching position over there. So Craig Pippin will not only be our assistant boys golf coach, he's also going to help Coach Stinson with the girls basketball program. So that's a plus for us. He's also going to be a head girls tennis coach.
Okay.
So he has experience coaching golf several years, I think 7 years, and he's coached tennis several years. And I think it's the best of both worlds when you have someone that can teach in the school and knows how to coach. And that's a plus for someone in the school. And nothing against tennis or golf. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find people to do those positions.
Yeah, knows what they're doing.
And knows what they're doing. Correct.
Yeah, a lot of paraprofessionals as they are fill those coaching slots, don't they? Usually.
Usually, that's correct.
Your soccer team is both boys and girls got off to a good start this year.
Right. Of course, we played Barren County last week, and if I want to say the score was 5-3 or 4-2.
4-2.
4-2.
Mm-hmm. Good ball game.
4-2, and our girls have won both their home games. They beat Clinton County, I think, the first game, and I think they beat Taylor County 2-0. And pending the heat this afternoon, they'll play Todd County Central at 6 o'clock for their third game, and then they go on the road. I want to say maybe Monroe County.
I think they do have Monroe on Thursday. Yeah. Or Tuesday.
Right.
And then they have like a full slate of games, I think, this week, the Glasgow girls do. Real quick, did you guys have added a lot of what I would consider to be veteran coaches to your programs over the last couple of years. And what kind of brought that about where you were at? I mean, people like John Myers and Steve Kirkpatrick, you mentioned Pippin and Rigdon. I mean, so she's not as old as they are, I would guess, but she still has, head coaching experience. How have you managed to bring these people in?
Who do you say she? I'm sorry.
Rigdon.
Yes, Caitlin, yes. You know what, and I know it's going to sound like I'm really boasting, but the culture and the atmosphere at Glasgow High School is really good. We've got great kids. We've got a good staff to work with. And anytime, like I said, when you get a veteran teacher that can come over that also has coaching experience, it's just the best of both worlds. With John Myers, his mother-in-law's from this area, and Jennifer, I think, went to Metcalfe County. His wife, who's a Highland principal.
She was one of my first assistant coaches at Barren.
Is that right?
Well, I didn't realize that.
Yes, she was.
And they're just top-shelf people. They're class acts. And John, I think, wanted to get back to this area, even though I think he's from around the Hallsville area, Hancock area. He wanted to get back to this area, and he has for a while, I think. Another name you might not be familiar with is a guy named Rich Crow. He is a 1977 graduate of Glasgow High School in Sam Royce's class, and Rich was a superintendent up there in Frankfort, and he retired from up there, and he wanted to come back, and his experience, I think, is in baseball. You may have coached against him at some point, Coach Butler, but anyway, he wanted to move back to Glasgow, and he's helping our soccer program. His daughter plays for Lady Scotties, and his son is a 7th grader, and he'll play some JV ball for our boys team. So he's another veteran coach that's moved back to this area. But who's to say? I guess Glasgow's a great community. People want to come back, and we're just lucky to have some of the veteran coaches and some of the older guys to come back, and girls.
Sure, it eases your mind too as an athletic director. There's a lot of responsibility placed on coaches now, with just the weather and heat and rules and things like that, and I'm sure it would be with me a sense of relief knowing that when you've got a team that's traveling and gone, on a Thursday night 2 hours away, it's a relief that the people that are in charge of them, you have faith and trust in them.
Exactly, and paraprofessionals are the best. I've got some great parapro coaches, I really do. But when you have a teacher that can also coach, it's just a plus simply because, like Coach Butler was saying, they know the ins and outs ins and outs of school law and regulations and what to and what not to do, and just having them in the building and at their our disposal. I mean, it's just a plus to have those guys.
So what are some other things you guys have going on as the school just started for you guys on Friday? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So what are some other things in this first full week of school, getting ready for football and other things going on that you guys have going on at Glasgow High School?
Well, personally, we've got the 4th region are going to have our first athletic directors meeting on Wednesday. That's something that's going to be taking place on Wednesday. But something else Wednesday night when I come back to Glasgow, or Wednesday afternoon, I'll have to go straight to Monroe County, Tompkinsville's Monroe County's Wellness Center over there. We've gotten back into the Class A, and I'm sure that both of you all are familiar that we have. We went up to Class 2A for 1 year, and they were great. It was very organized just to be 1 year, and they were we were glad that we joined that. However, I want to say that the smallest 225 schools in the state can join the Class A. We went above that number 2 years ago, and since then we've dropped back down to maybe 215 or 220 somewhere through there. So we rejoined the Class A.
It's confusing in one sense because you move up to 3A in football.
It is. It is.
But people need to realize that Class A and other than football it's not a. The KSWSA doesn't set those classifications. It's like a tournament within a year type of deal, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the organization running those particular classifications set the
set the limits, right?
And it's it's a great way to recognize some of the smaller schools in the state of Kentucky, and Mike Reeves over there at Clinton County, he does a great job, organizing things. And what we're going to talk about Wednesday night, we're going to draw for softball and baseball, and we're going to find out where we're going to be playing the regional games, the state games, and that kind of thing. And also the boys and girls basketball coaches will go over, and I think they're going to rate the players and as well as the officials on Monday night. Next week, I think Monday, is the girls Class A over at Kentucky Hills in Metcalfe County, and the following week, or maybe later in that week, I think Thursday, our boys play for the regional over there. So we're back in that, and it'll be interesting to see how we do. Again, I'm biased, so I think we'll have a really good shot, especially with our basketball programs. We're coming off a pretty good season with our boys last year, and Coach Stinson's, he had another good year last year, and has some good players. So I think we'll do well in that. And of course, baseball and softball, we've always been successful with the Class A as well. So I look for good things to happen.
And one more thing before we let you go, your softball diamond, your softball field's done, right? Why don't you talk about that? I've heard some great reviews about it.
Right. We had a dedication last week or week before last, and it was a great thing to have former coaches, all the former coaches with the exception of Lisa Calhoun Underwood, of course, passed away several years ago. We had all of our coaches to come back to dedicate that field. We had a lot of former players there. Taylor Murphy and Amanda Lee threw out the first pitch and caught the first ball. It's just a state-of-the-art facility.
It's got to be a boost to the program, doesn't it?
It's a boost to the program having it right there on campus. It's a very attractive site. It's going to be something for our opposing teams to come in and say, hey, look, I wish we had something like that. Of course, Barren County, Russell County, we've got some new facilities around the state, but
it's such an advantage just to walk out of your building and you can go down there and change and just play. You're not off campus and things like that.
Right. And another thing, John, one thing I do want to mention, the city of Glasgow, they've given us a place to play since 1988, I think. No? Yeah. It's been a long time, but I think it was 88.
30 years.
Yeah, 86 maybe, 86. Yeah. But anyway, 33 years they've given us a place to play. We're just thankful for that. But just state of the art. I was going to leave the other night, and I said, Coach, make sure you turn those lights off. They said, well, they'll go off in 30 minutes. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's an app on my phone, and I got it set on a timer. Of course,
I don't impressive. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I have email and texting, but I don't. God left me out of this a new world. So, it's just really, really nice. We're glad to have a concession stand. It's just a treat for those kids and their coaching staff to have that.
So you guys can go back in and paint the softball back on that brown sign that's when you come into the school, right? Because it was on there originally when you guys first built the new high school, and then I guess they browned it over or something. You guys can clean that off.
I guess we can, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a field back there now. Because originally that was the plan, right? They wanted to try to build the field when they built the new high school.
Right.
And it just took some years to get it all put together. So it's a good thing they did. I'm with John. It's got to be a boost to the program because
I know it has been to us.
Yeah.
Darren. It was a big difference maker. Pride of the kids, and it's you'll have more players. I think they'll come out, and it's just hard when you're going across town and. No, this is not a knock against the city, but the facility that you were playing at, just like when Barren was playing at, across town, it's just not going to be near as nice as this one.
Right.
Yeah, it's newer, and it's got all the amenities. The lights just turn off whenever, on their own.
Exactly, right. It's just,
can't beat that.
It's just a snap of a finger, that's right.
Anything else you can think of, Craig?
Talk about it one more time. Just remind everybody Friday night's 5.
Right, Friday night. Pending any heat or lightning or rain, anything like that. The first game starts at 5 o'clock, and that's going to be Elizabethtown, Allen County, Scottsville, and then at 8 o'clock. Again, hopefully getting the kickoff on time. We'll play LaRue County at 8 o'clock.
What's the cost to get in?
Okay, we are selling tickets. I'm glad you mentioned that. We're selling tickets. Right now at Glasgow High School, we'll sell them through 1 o'clock on Friday of this week for $8. Those are pre-sale tickets at $8, and tickets at the gate are $10, but that $10 is good for both games. Okay. Now, mentioning this, we consider this our fundraiser, Glasgow High School athletic fundraiser for the year. That's the only fundraiser that we have, and it goes not toward just football. It goes towards tennis, golf, soccer. It goes toward every sport that we have, and anyway, we look forward to having a good crowd out there, and would like for the community to come out and support us.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. By the way, the U.S. Army game night will be there Friday night, myself and Brian Webb.
Good.
So I'll get you some more information on that probably tonight. And it's a lot of fun every year. Get to see some great football, talk to some great folks around here, do all the things we do at that show, and you guys are terrific. We've had some great Glasgow players, athletes on there as our Buffalo Wild Wings scholar athlete. So it's just been a lot of fun.
Right. I'd like to say one more thing. I know this probably doesn't go all the way to Princeton, but we lost a good coach over the weekend, David Barnes. His son Will coached for us here, and just an outstanding young coach who's got a promising future. David was on that football advisory board with me, and I got to know him back when I was coaching at Barren with Billy Lindsay. Whenever back in those days, we had to travel to trade films, and I got the pleasure to meet him back around 1999 or 2000 for the first time when he was at Davies County. But anyway, he's left the world too early, and anybody who's listening who wants to reach out to that family, they'd sure appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
This is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag on ESPN Radio 1230.
Well, I want to thank Craig Cassady for stopping by and talking to us about what's going on with Glasgow sports. As the athletic director, he's got a lot going on, taking emails and text messages as he's sitting here talking to us. So, yeah, life's a lot of fun for an AD. And Craig's the kind of person that does the job well because he really obviously cares about what he's doing.
Yeah, he's conscientious about it too. Which sometimes the more conscientious you are about something, the more headaches that you have. Yeah, because you worry about things,
Yeah. So, and that's not a bad thing. Warren Cunningham will be joining us here shortly, I'm sure. And but before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about some NFL preseason and getting ready for the fantasy draft, NFL fantasy draft. John, you're all into that kind of stuff. How many leagues you in this year?
Just 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not in a bunch of them, but I am into the ones I'm into.
Got you. Yeah. You got your old. I say old timers. You guys go hang out in the cabin together still.
Yes.
And do your draft.
That's right.
Yeah. That's pretty unique. That's a lot of fun.
It is fun. It is fun. Most of everybody that I grew up with has been doing it for about 30 years.
Yeah. So, how much do you pay attention to the NFL preseason as you get ready for doing the fantasy draft kind of stuff?
About the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean,
when the starters are in, right?
When the main one's in, yeah. So you keep up, who's hurt, who's holding out, things like that. But I mean, I'm not watching all the NFL games or anything like that. But I'll keep an eye on, first quarter or so. And then the third week of preseason is generally the most important one because they play their starters a lot more.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Rams, they never play.
I've noticed. There have been a couple where I've tuned into the game and the guy who's playing quarterback, I'm like, is that guy still in the league? Or I didn't know that guy. I don't even know who that guy is.
Yeah.
And that's because a couple of teams just do not play their starting quarterbacks. Really, I mean, don't see them.
No, it's not. It's just. I mean, Tom Brady's played 20 years. I mean, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
if he doesn't know it by now.
That's right. It's it's a little outdated to say the least.
Yeah.
With the risk factor of injury. I mean, colleges don't have any.
Yeah.
And really, most of them are now starting to have inter squad scrimmages in the middle of the week. I mean, New England and Tennessee was together for 2 days.
Yeah.
And what I can gather, teams get more out of the inter squad than they do out of real games because you can control that a lot better.
Yeah. One of the things, though, I do like about the preseason, I don't know why they have 4 or 5 games, because some of them do have a 5th game.
You don't know why. You know why.
Well, I mean, I know why, because I guess
it's money.
Yeah, people will tune in and that kind of stuff.
They sell those to your season ticket holders. You have to buy those, too.
Oh, that's right.
So it's money.
Yeah, scam. Anyway, but one of the things I do like, especially when you talk about somebody like the Patriots, who are not going to play their primary players much, if at all, is you kind of get to see some folks who are trying to make the team.
Yes.
You get to see a little bit more from them. And one pair that is I thought looked pretty good, and what I've seen is Damian Harris, who's from Richmond and played at Alabama as a running back, and then Jarrett Stidham, who went to high school in Texas, but originally from Corbin, and he and Damian Harris were youth football teammates in Madison County.
And Jarrett Stidham ended up at quarterback. Was he at Auburn or LSU?
Yeah, Auburn.
If Bill Belichick can make him into a quality NFL quarterback, then it'd be amazing because he was okay at Auburn.
Well, look, here's the thing. When I was watching him play in the preseason game, I'm looking there and thinking to myself,
he looks like a real player now.
Yeah, he does. I'm like, because I had to go back. I'm like, I thought he played at Auburn.
Yeah.
But he didn't look like an Auburn quarterback.
No. I mean, he was better at scrambling than about anything else at Auburn. But New England is the best run franchise in all sports. I mean, they're amazing at what they do with players. And if they draft somebody, it obviously has to get your attention because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think we mentioned whenever Harris got picked by the Patriots, we thought that was a pretty good spot for him. And turns out, looks like Stidham is a real NFL quarterback all of a sudden. I guess we'll see. Well, Warren Cunningham has joined us, and I don't know. Warren, do you do the whole fantasy football thing?
I don't. I did it one time. It's probably been like 15 years ago, and it drove me crazy because I couldn't just relax and watch a game. I don't watch a lot of entire games. I just watch bits and pieces here and there. And I was just so worried about who they were throwing the ball to, who was running the ball, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I haven't done it since.
You find yourself screaming at the television because the guy who can give you points is wide open and he throws an interception?
Yeah, or they drop a pass, or they there's always something that's like, I'm not doing this.
Or they hold out and don't play.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't really do the fantasy football thing much in terms of seriously. I don't do it. We kind of mess around sometimes with some of the folks here with our ESPN radio, and we'll put together teams. But it's a big joke, really, in a lot of ways. We had one year where the person who actually won the league, they drafted their team and didn't look at it again.
Yeah, that would annoy me too. There's probably more luck involved than there is skill in terms of.
Proves a lot of points, doesn't it?
That's right.
Well, Warren, we just had Craig Cassady in here talking about the role of the athletic director, and I mean, one of the things that is most important for you guys is even before the sports get started, trying to keep track of the players, make sure the coaches are on their P's and Q's with the players in terms of making sure they got the right players, they're eligible, dealing with transfers. I think you've got at least one of those pending for soccer, and just different things like that are nobody ever gets to see what you do. They're like, that guy he doesn't do anything. He rolls the basketballs out and he rolls them back in the locker room,
It is. It's it's extremely busy, and fall sports is the busiest time.
Yeah.
When I first became athletic director, we have a really good group of 4th Region athletic directors. We have 3 meetings a year, and it's been a really good deal because we talk about things. And the first time I went to one of those, actually I went with Coach Blair, and they were talking about how that fall sports was the busiest time, and that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just the sheer volume of the number of teams, the number of student athletes, so many things going on in the fall, and it really is. This is the busiest time. Of course, school's starting, so you do deal with more transfers now, right now in the summer and as school's starting. So just a lot of different things, physicals, making sure you got all your requirements for coaches. So there's just so many things that you kind of do behind the scenes that aren't front and center, and that's okay. That's a good thing. But just trying to help all our coaches, whether it be travel, schedules, a little bit of everything. So it's fun though. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, when you say it's the busiest time, so from say July 15th until when is like the most hectic part of it?
Well, when you start winding down with some sports, with the fall, they gradually start, beginning with golf, and then they gradually stop, beginning with golf.
Yeah.
So when you get through, golf and volleyball, when those soccer, when you just have football left, it's okay because it's just, that's one game a week as terms of varsity. But it's just the stretch here when you go from where everybody is wide open. This week is volleyball, football starting this week, so it's wide open here for the next couple months.
And we have 7 fall sports: girls and boys cross country. We got girls and boys soccer, football, and volleyball, and
girls
golf.
and boys golf.
That's correct,
Yeah.
7. And I don't know how he does
also
it.
got cheer and dance.
Cheer and dance.
That's
I mean, we have over 30 kids in cheer, and we have I think there's 15 girls on our dance team. So you're helping those folks as well. So there's so many kids that you're looking after and trying to help out here with fall sports.
Yeah, and also, I mean, with all those sports, I mean, that's one individual kid in each occasion, meaning, so what do you have, like 300 kids, 200 kids that you're having to try to keep track of, and their coaches dealing with them? Is it?
Yeah, I've never taken
you don't want to know the
time
actual
to
number.
keep up the actual number. But yeah, it's several especially when you include football, because we've got close to 70 kids in football, 60 plus, so that's a big chunk right there, and we've got
30 in volleyball.
Yeah, I was going to say close to 30 in volleyball.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole lot of we got close to 30 in girls soccer. So
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of kids, and that's a good problem to have. To have such good numbers in your sports.
Yeah, I mean, it is what is it? It is a blessing, in a way, because that means you're providing something for these kids to do that keeps them from doing other things, wasting their time on it. Probably keeps them more engaged in school.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's a worthwhile endeavor for you to try to keep up with it.
Absolutely.
You guys, like you mentioned, football kicks off Friday night. You guys are playing at Metcalfe County.
Yes.
First time we've been there, right?
It's been
A long time.
I don't know the last time we've been there. I'm sure we probably have at some point. We've played them several times, but it was always in the TJ Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what I've told people lately. I said, I'm not sure the last time we went over there. I don't remember going over there to see us play football.
And since I've been there.
Well, I was going to say, I would guess you'd have to go back to the late 70s because I think they had a home and home like right after the schools consolidated and you had a full 11 football program.
It's a good rivalry for us, and that's one thing that even with basketball, they've had some really good teams. Our teams have really gotten after it. It's a good rivalry game that we will have to be ready to play because we will get their best effort. They always play. They won't have a lot of kids, but they will be tough and they'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Now you guys are moving up to Class 6A, so change of scenery in terms of opponents and that kind of thing.
Very much so.
What are there any other things in terms of like moving into that district or moving up to Class 6A that's different? this year for you?
Not really, other than just the opponents, and like you said, a change of scenery, and I think that will do us some good. It's certainly, I mean, you look at the polls the other day. I saw North Hardin, I think, in the top 10. I know that I was just trying to read a little bit about some of those teams, and Meade County, I think it looked like they had a transfer. I was reading Tyler Mansfield's up there now, and I was reading some of his previews on some of those teams just to kind of get a little bit of idea. I think they had a running back transferred in from Indiana that's supposed to be good. And then Central Hardin, you look at their records over the last few years, and they've had a good football program. So it's certainly going to be still an uphill battle for us, but I think a change of scenery, and I think we can hopefully be more competitive with those teams. And then obviously with playing within your district in the postseason of football is going to change the postseason a little bit,
right?
Because that's new, at least for, I don't know if football's done that in the past or if it's been a while maybe since they have done that.
They did it on a 2-year cycle, like in 2009, 2008, somewhere in that window. But they dropped that experiment after that 2 years.
Yeah, and I don't, it's kind of like the commissioner said one time, if you poll everybody, 50%, half of them will say they don't like it, half of them will say they do. So it's just kind of, a lot of it probably depends on which district you're in.
Right.
So, but I think from a travel perspective, it makes more sense to people, whether it's us or, and we'll still be traveling a little bit, but, I think last year Monroe County, I don't know if it was the first or second round, they were going to Northern Kentucky. I mean, it's a crazy trip, so I think it helps with the travel for sure.
One thing about your schedule, too, is you guys wind up playing on the Friday of fall break this year. That's your first district game, right?
Yes, it is. And, it was just a situation where the corresponding dates and the school calendar just kind of didn't align exactly right, because our fall break for Barren County Schools has been the first full week in October, and the corresponding date for the KHSAA, we work on corresponding dates calendar that they where it's the same week of the year, just was off a week. So we do have a game there on fall break on October 11th. So soccer is the same way. That's the week of the soccer district tournament.
Yeah.
So that's
which is usually the week after fall break.
That's exactly right. So that's the week of fall break. So that's kind of the way that the KHSAA calendar works. It's not like that's what I was trying to explain to some folks a few weeks ago when somebody was asking me about it. It's like, well, to say it's the first full week in October is not always. That doesn't mean that's always the same week of the year.
Right.
And that's what the KHSAA schedules on. So we'd already had that scheduled, and football contracts are done well in advance, and that was all completed before we got the school calendar that was going to be fall break.
Right.
So.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we talked to Craig. Craig's got he talked a little bit about the upcoming bowl game, the Scotty Bowl, which is this week. We're hosting a bowl 2 weeks from Friday, right?
We are.
You want to talk about that?
It's August 30th. We got Hart County and Monroe County playing the first game, and then we play Woodford County in the second game. So we're excited about hosting that, and it was Coach Arnett's idea. He wanted to do that, and he did. Somebody was asking me today about it. I said, he did most of the work in terms of getting the teams and getting everything set up. But it's I think it's going to be a good deal. We got two local teams playing the first game with Hart and Monroe, and then Woodford County obviously is not a local team, but they're coached by Dennis Johnson, who was really a standout football player in the state. He was a good basketball player in the state. I think he and I are about the same age. He may be maybe 1 year different. He played at Harrodsburg and was an outstanding. I mean, when he played at Kentucky, and he was really a big recruit for them at that time, but he's their football coach. And they were 2-9 last year. I looked at their record, and that can kind of be deceiving because they play a really good schedule. Well, they were very competitive with some teams.
Lexington schools.
That could have gone either way. So it's won't be an easy game for us by any stretch of the imagination, but a bowl event at our stadium that we're excited about hosting.
Is this a 2-year contract?
It is. It's a 2-year. Same 4 teams will be in it next year. We'll play Hart County, and Monroe County will play Woodford County in 2020.
Got you. And fall sports is in full swing. Your girls golf team, right now, I think they are ranked 3rd in Region 3, which is South Warren's 1. I think Glasgow's 2. But they've already played the 2 of them several times in tournaments already, and they're right there with them.
We've made up some ground. I think the first one we were about 25 strokes back of South Warren, and Coach Withrow and I keep talking about it. But get a little bit closer, and they've got an outstanding team. We have a good team. We've got quite a bit of depth on our team, a lot of experience. Our girls golf, and Dwayne Withrow does just a great job with our girls, and he's built has a really strong program, and they play in a lot of Saturday tournaments, and so he's doing a great job, and he'll have them playing their best when it comes time for the regional tournament.
Yeah, and then the boys and girls soccer, they look real good in their first game there. Tough Warren East.
Good win. Coach Nyken that's a good win for the girls.
Yeah.
It was. We had just scrimmaged them maybe a couple weeks before that, and lost by a couple goals. I can't remember if it was 3-1 or 4-2, and we kind of joked afterward, and I said, well, we'll flip it on them when we play them here in a few weeks. And so he did. He does such a great job, and he's there at school. He's got some new girls out playing. We have a lot of girls and a lot of interest in our girls soccer, but from a soccer technical skills aspect, you couldn't find anybody better than Lawrence Nyken, because he's very, very astute to the skills, and so he does a great job. Coach Mercer is doing an excellent job with our boys. He's got they've got about 4 guys that play basketball for us also. They're playing. Aiden Nyken's playing, scored 4 goals the other night. So they play Butler here in just a little while. So they're off to a good start, and just a lot of kids involved.
Yeah.
Kind of got with cross country starts on the 24th. Kind of have a little bit of a new situation, right, with the boys and girls cross country with. I think Catherine Bills is taking over as head coach of both.
She is. She's doing both girls and boys. She was a former runner for us, track,
basketball,
played basketball player for Coach Butler. So she's just a really has a great personality, and she teaches down at the middle school, and all those middle school kids are. I told her I said here in a few years you're going to have about 200 on track and cross country, because they want to come play for her, run for her. And so it's
and Mr. Reed's still helping.
He is. He's still
helping.
Well, I noticed that
Coach Reed has a lifetime contract. That's what I tell him all the time. I was like, you can resign from whatever position, but you still have a lifetime contract.
Yeah, and I see that she sets an example like Coach Reed does. I see her running up and down the road.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, her athletes can't look at her and say, "Well, I can't do this," because she's like, "Yeah, you can, because I can."
And her demeanor is a lot like Coach Reed in terms of soft-spoken and very nice, and but she's a competitor, and they get after it. But she has a lot of his same characteristics.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of that you guys have going on in the fall that folks need to know about?
I can't think of anything. I just encourage folks to come out, and I think folks would just be amazed at all the variety of things that we have going on. But I mean, if you come out to the high school campus in the afternoon, there's we got middle school softball going on also. As a fall sport, we got middle school football. So I mean, there's things going on every evening, every afternoon, whether it's soccer complex or volleyball doesn't play at home for a few weeks. They're on the road for the first couple weeks of the season.
Season tickets, football, are they sold out or?
They're not sold out. We have I've got about 40 seats left. We have 292 chairback seats that we sell season tickets for. So we've got about I got a little bit less than 40 left of those. So we've got those still on sale, and be glad to have folks come out. We've got 6 home games. So
yeah, and the first one being the bowl.
Yes,
you guys
the first one is the bowl. That's right.
Well, I want to thank Warren Cunningham for joining us. It's always a pleasure catching up with you and finding out what's going on with the athletics there at Barren County High School and beyond, I guess. And this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag on ESPN Radio 1230.
Well, we've discussed soccer with both Greg Cassady and Warren Cunningham, and it got started last week, and it was actually a pretty eventful first week. I mean, we wound up with Glasgow and Barren playing each other in a good game. Glasgow ended up scoring a couple of goals late to win it 4-2, but Barren, obviously, they may have the best athlete in Aiden Nyken on a soccer field around here, and then Seth Mitchell ain't so bad. Glasgow's talent level is not what it's been in terms of just having somebody who can just dribble through folks and get a goal, although that's not really their system anyway. But it's going to be interesting as the season goes along to see how that matchup goes. It'll be pretty curious.
Yeah, I think overall with Barren, I think they are better than they were last year. I mean, they lost their first game to Hart, and Hart's not a bad team.
No.
And then came back and defeated Todd County pretty handily. And Glasgow game was very competitive. It was Barren was up, and then it was tied 2-2, and then Glasgow pulled away late. But I do think Barren is better, and Glasgow's just solid. I mean, that's they're not flashy per se, but they're just very, very solid. And Coach over there, he does a really good job with them.
Yeah, and I tell you another thing that's a little bit interesting this year, because we discussed this with Joe whenever he was in, that Clinton County had kind of moved into the second spot. Well, they apparently don't have a team all of a sudden.
Yeah, they've canceled their games.
Which is weird. I mean, because it looked like their program was kind of picking up steam. I don't know what happened there. But, yeah, so Clinton County's not in the district, which means the district is Barren, Glasgow, and Monroe. And that's I would say then Glasgow and Barren will probably be 1-2 to make the regional tournament. Monroe's coming along, but it takes a long time, obviously, to build a soccer program.
It does. And in fairness to the Monroes and to the Clintons, and I know Greene County just started a girls program. It's not a sport that's natural to those places, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, there's no history behind it. And part of the problems that county schools have to face is finding quality people who can teach the sport.
Yeah.
That's always an issue.
Well, it's sort of like we were talking about with Craig. I mean, he's kind of gotten into a good situation where he has some veteran coaches who are helping out in the secondary sports, or the head coaches in secondary sports. I mean, when you're relying on a paraprofessional, they may know the sport, but they also obviously have some other job
they do
coaching, and that's got to interfere with time management. And
don't see the kids daily,
yeah.
So it hurts your recruiting as well. Oftentimes you have to recruit your school for some of the so-called minor sports at times. You got to get people out, and if you're not there, it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah. And then the Barren County girls, they look like a pretty decent team. They did. He mentioned Lawrence is the head coach this year.
Anytime you beat a Bowling Green school in soccer. I mean, I know Warren East is not the best. It's Bowling Green and Greenwood, but still, it's a good win, because there's soccer is played. The sport of soccer in Bowling Green, Warren County is strong.
Yeah,
they've got the facilities, they've got the infrastructure. It's a strong deal. So beating Warren East, that's a good start.
I tell you another thing. This is something you've mentioned about Warren East and both their basketball and softball programs, is getting some of those players, those athletes, to cross over between sports. I saw 2 or 3 of their softball players out there playing soccer. So obviously they're kind of getting better at integrating those kids in multiple sports, which is going to make them more competitive.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw Patterson out there. I mean, she's a standout in both basketball and softball, and she was out there playing soccer. So that's going to help them out. Same thing has happened with Barron's girls programs. They girls soccer program. We've got a number of those players that play other sports come out and play soccer. The Glasgow girls, they beat Clinton 12-0 in their first game. They beat Taylor County 2-0.
Yeah, they've not given up a goal yet.
Right. And they look pretty good.
They look like a team with a lot of returning players, which they have.
Yes. So soccer looks pretty solid in the first week, and it'll keep going this week. It'll be pretty interesting to see how that pans out. Volleyball, like we said, starts tonight.
Yeah, Barren plays tonight at Cumberland, and tomorrow. No, yeah, today's 19th. They play at Cumberland tonight and at Caverna tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think the Lady Scotties, they open up tonight at Hart County.
Yep.
Edmondson County home tomorrow.
Yep. So you get a chance to see some volleyball if you're into that kind of thing as well. Well, this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag on ESPN Radio 1230.
Well, John, we're going to swing back around to this fantasy football discussion because, I mean, you are an avid researcher of such things. I consider you the Brown Sports Bag fantasy football guru.
I can tell I'm talking with a novice here. Because it depends on I don't want to get complicated. It depends on the league format. There's a lot of different leagues and how they format it and scoring and all that stuff. But, okay.
Yeah. I'm actually aware of that.
Okay,
I actually like the leagues where the special teams and the defense are actually split and not the same thing. So you can pick a kicker, you know what I mean, and instead of just defense, special teams. So, yeah, I am aware of such things. But, we're just asking for the hot take here. Who's the first player you pick off the board if you have to draft?
Again, it depends on the league and format. Like if I was in my Greensburg league, which has the old school points, it'd be Patrick Mahomes, quarterback.
Yeah.
But in most leagues, you don't take quarterbacks early.
No.
But Patrick Mahomes was a tremendous player. You know, in most leagues, how they're formatted, it's running backs.
Yeah.
And, you know, two of the better running backs are holding out. You know, Ezekiel Elliott's holding out. The guy from San Diego's holding out. You know,
Melvin Gordon.
So, you know, I like McCaffrey of Carolina. Obviously, Barkley from the Giants is a top pick, and Bell, who hasn't played in 2 years, but he's with the Jets, he's a top pick. So, so those, those are your running backs. And receiver, I'd love Tyreek Hill, Kansas City, and DeAndre Hopkins of the Texans.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think, what was it last year? 2 years ago, I think I took two quarterbacks in the first two rounds.
No.
You don't say no. Okay.
No.
Well, this is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back next week. I will not be giving you fantasy football advice.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.
This is WCDS Glasgow, ESPN Radio 1230, your total sports leader.